South Africa is haunted. Disorderly, ghostly matters surface, sink, and drift in the ocean and shorelines. The sites of Camisa, translated as place of sweet waters, carry the history of colonization and apartheid, categorized by segregation and exclusions. Camisa is not separate from global waters and land, but always already a part of entangled violences of settler colonialism, land dispossession, slavery, transnational labor exploitation, extractivism, and homicides. Scene 1. This story takes us back to a time long ago, a time that still echoes in the ocean and land now, a time before the Separate Immunities Act in South Africa, where it became illegal for brown and black bodies to explore the environment freely, before Western science owned conservation and knowledge about humans and nature, even further back before the colonizers arrived on the shores of Camisa and claimed the land and ocean and bodies, before the time when bodies were made slaves and dragged across the ocean and drowned in the wake of the colonial ships. This story takes us back in time, but brings itself into the present. As I think with water and its entanglement with bodies in relation to loss, erasure, access, and memory, I've become more attuned to relationality. In the kelp forest, water, kelp, boulders, and watery beings dance diffractively and relationally. In other words, bodies are not entities alongside one another or bound by physical position or skins, but connected across space and time. I'm not entirely at peace as I float and sink in ocean spaces. My body embodies the fears of swimming as I'm pulled by the backwash. These experiences are not gentle, rather, it is a mixture of rising deep complexity and research making. Tracing the multiple temporalities that seep into my body through the watery memories of childhood, through my womb as a place of life and labor, I find myself floating in False Bay as a doctoral student in environmental education. A pulse of the urgent need for restoring stays with me, to unravel colonial practices of education and resurface indigenous knowledges, stories, and relations. Genesis. The Spirit hovered over the water in the stillness. The earth was without form. The watery robe held the promises for human and nature to live in care and generosity. Blue becomes the color of transformation. Our shores are polluted by the debris of apartheid's education segregation laws and continue to float in our communities. The sedimented separation of relations between black and brown bodies and environments lingers in the ongoing erasures of histories of knowledge, peoples, animals, oceans, plants, and land. South Africa holds the memories of fluid indigenous relations between science, conservation, art, and literacy. Erased stories are needed to unravel colonial practices. Through deep and wild gatherings, we cast nets into haunted waters through color, crayons, and threads, as an act of remembrance and gathering of stories in the ocean Kraals, a place of care. A storytelling inquiry with ocean, early childhood development education students, Zenzaleni school children, and public participation, we evoke the potential for making the simplified color stories murky. This is ultimately about the possibilities of storytelling as an act of collective remembering and colorful knowing. The story churns up new and unfamiliar stories buried in the depths of the ocean Kraals by exploring transdisciplinary connections between relational ecologies. Ocean Kraals are baskets designed as fishing sites utilized in pre-colonial times and are scattered all along the False Bay coast. The story of ocean Kraals are washed out to sea in colonial history. Scene 3. The bodies of children and adults lived with the land and care of the ocean. The sun, in its warmth, recognized the care and made life flourish. The fish grew in their abundance from the careful care and rhythms of the land and its people. The humans only ate what they needed and never stored up extra because the ocean and the land kept providing. The humans created kraals on land and in the ocean. Kraals were places of refuge and care for all species. Ocean kraals were like ocean baskets where the humans would place rocks in a circle to fish and nourish themselves so that they could care for the environment. The fish would flow in and out of the kraal with the tides. The sun recognized the generosity of the humans and their careful ways of nurturing the ocean and land. The sun watched for hours each day, following the joy and warmth of the relationships. The sun, being there, brought light and made land and ocean species grow and transform. Kelp in the ocean expanded and the creatures of the sea lived inside the sea forests. The delight of the sun created something spectacular as a gift for the humans. The human skins started glistening in all shades of brown and golden glow. Brown became the color of custodianship and care.
Mikiwe. Yes, I chose the color brown. What I heard from the story is that the color brown is the color of care. I didn't know that. The first time hearing that. I know it's the color of our skin. I didn't like my skin growing up because I was teased about it. But now, I do love it.
Wow!
I really do love it. Yes.
Thank you.
Scene 5. The humans didn't stay in one place. They would live in community and travel. The plants noticed how the humans would gather up and move to a different place to care for the land and ocean. Along the coast, fish kraals were formed and left the mark of care. The plants thrived when the humans moved along. The plants told the story of conservation, the memory of the humans and other creatures, allowing the land and ocean to grow and recover. The color green became the color of conservation. How do we stitch and thread with remembrance? How do we mend the broken relations through color? Which background stories are pulled through the stitching practices?
I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got brown on my skin like there's rose on the ocean. I've got brown on my skin in my soul. I've got brown on my skin like a stone in the ocean. I've got brown on my skin in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got brown on my skin like there's rose on the ocean. I've got brown on my skin